Well, welcome everybody to our Thursday evening Zoom sponsored by GLREA. Thanks for coming, and I'd like to thank our sponsors as we do every week. The State Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Eagle, Homeland Solar, Harvest Solar, Sumter Solar, and Sri Energy. And tonight we have I think, a very interesting program. Tim Tate has joined us from Sesame Solar because they have their market is basically mobile, deployable, rapid response power systems that can be put in trailers and containers, and Tim, I'm sure, will tell us probably shipped all over the world. And where's your actual production, Tim?
We're in Jackson, so kind of halfway in between Lansing and Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I kind of thought you were in Michigan, so yeah, so Michigan company. Hey,
Yes,
well, good
go
morning, Tim.
Michigan. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, everything's hand built by our company. We have a lot of folks with a background in um, building vehicles and all kinds of systems for cars and trucks. And so, we have a lot of folks that have a engineering background or hydraulics or welding. Uh, you know, Lots of folks who are good with their hands. We're a pretty small company of a couple dozen employees. We work mostly with telecom and emergency management, police, fire, military. So a pretty diverse group of folks that we work with. We've been around since about 2020 or so. The company was formed in 2018 by Lauren Flanagan, who's our co-founder. She's got a pretty deep background in software. Used to work with Steve Jobs back in the day, developing software for Apple. And brilliant woman. I learn a lot from her all the time. She found a business partner in Namit Janwar, who's our engineering partner. And she got started thinking about, Hurricane Katrina was kind of her light bulb moment uh, many years ago now. But, after these big disasters, you have lots of folks who go out and help people and bring them power and services and water and food. And thank God for all those people. And what they always bring with them, because it's a pretty reliable way of generating power, is diesel generators. Uh, and so Lauren was sort of like uh, diesel, fossil fuels, sort of part of what is exacerbating these natural disasters. And so she was thinking, wouldn't it be great if, instead of bringing these machines that put up particulates and make lots of noise and kind of keep that loop going, could we do it with renewable energy? So that's when she started thinking about it. It took quite a few years to get to a point of starting to design systems and start manufacturing. But yeah, 2020 or so was when we started. We've built maybe 75 or so of these systems now. We call them clean mobile power nanogrids. And so, they're using solar battery storage, and sometimes backup green hydrogen. Then there's always a solution inside. Like you said, they're built in shipping containers and construction type trailers. And I think I'll pop over and share a screen, and I can share some visuals with y'all. I haven't done many of these 30-minute talks, so we'll see how it goes. Hang in there with me. I have a couple of little ones in the background, a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. Sometimes they go at it with each other. So if I look flustered or anything, maybe it's that. But let me share my screen here, and I'll show you what we're all about. Can you see my presentation there?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, great. Uh, So dual use mobile power. We call things clean mobile power when we're talking with universities, and cities, and counties. We sometimes will use words like self-generating power when we're talking more with the military side of our business. That's kind of something that I'm you know trying to get better at is using the right language with the right kinds of folks that I'm talking with. But most of the time, Lauren, our co-founder who I mentioned, she's kind of on the military side of things, and I'm more on the municipalities, universities, and public safety kind of folks. So our nanogrids, they're built to be really simple. They're ready to go as soon as we build them and ship them to the customer. And they're meant to be deployed in 15 minutes or less by like a simple guy like me. So I'm a more of a creative salesperson, customer interaction, customer success kind of guy. So I drive around these nanogrids. We spend a lot of time in California because such a big population there, lots of disasters and support from their government. Also spend a fair amount of time here locally. So we have a Rivian pickup truck stationed there with our demonstration nanogrid. So I usually set up a few demos at a time, and then I'll go out there and maybe drive over the mountains to Palm Springs or Riverside County or Orange County or all those kind of spots around there. And I get to meet lots of amazing people who do super important work. Look out for the safety of millions of people. These are kind of folks that I would have never met without being in this position. So it's a super interesting job that I have, and it's kind of an adventure every time I head out. And soon we're going to be bringing back our demonstration nanogrid to the Michigan area to fix it up a bit, and then we're going to be heading over to DC for a disaster relief conference at the Pentagon. But we've been fortunate to receive some honors from folks. We won Time Magazine's Best Inventions, the Verizon Climate Resilience Prize. We made the Fast Company World's 50 Most Innovative Companies. Last year, we took part in this Excella City Challenge, and we made the top 50 resilience solutions. And then I was just at our factory last week. I work from home a lot of times, and then I'm on the road as well. But I got out and I got to see some of the updates in our engineering, and we're really trying to make our engineering more compartmentalized, easier to replicate, because everything is so hand built right now that it takes quite a while for us to build one of these systems. So that's something that we're trying to get better at, because we have a lot of systems in testing right now all over the world. And if one of those customers says, hey, we need dozens or hundreds of these, we're trying to get prepared for that kind of challenge. But when I was there, I saw this kind of looked like a Oscars statue or something, but it's called the Stevie Award, and it's for International Small Energy Business of the Year. Then we won a sustainability seal award this year. So these are kind of dramatic illustrations here, but that's the kind of work that we're generally involved with, can kind of align with those sorts of situations. So we make dual use mobile nanogrids. They make their own power using solar and sometimes green hydrogen, like I mentioned. So we have military and commercial customers. With the military, if you can reduce the fuel supply chain, then you're making things safer for our troops. So that's something that we try to do. If there's a fuel convoy, for example, that's a target for our enemies. They can either take that convoy, or they can follow it back to find the main fuel supply, or they can follow it to our soldiers. So, our battlefields are full of power hungry devices these days. And so to have to have power generating devices stationed, behind our front lines for folks to power their devices with. That's becoming like a super important thing. So that's become a significant portion of our business is working with the Army Corps of Engineers, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps. Those are our three main military customers right now. And then, as extreme weather events are becoming more common. Also, power outages are becoming more common as the grid deals with wildfires and not enough capacity and these kinds of things. So there there's a need for more and more companies like ours to fill these kind of gaps. So this is our demonstration nanogrid that I mentioned to you that we keep out in California, and that's what I bring around to see our potential customers. So we're called Sesame Solar. We're the first to market with mobile nanogrids that self-generate continuous power from 100% renewable energy. And so we're called Sesame because the phrase "open sesame," it's from 1001 Arabian Nights. You have Alibaba who's trying to figure out, where these thieves are keeping their treasure, and he follows them to their caves, and he's hiding out, trying to figure out. He can't figure out where they're keeping it, and he's listening in, and they utter the phrase "open sesame," and then the caves open to reveal the treasure inside. So that's what we do. You press a button, and the solar array pops out of the sides of the shipping container or the trailer, and that makes your solar array larger. This is one of the smaller solar arrays and battery systems that we have in our demonstration nanogrid. Generally, we'll have the full length of the sides of the trailers are solar arrays. So anywhere between like 3 kilowatts and 12 kilowatts or so of solar will often build into these. And we're always innovating. We have the Marine Corps right now who wants us to be able to generate a lot more energy than we currently do. So that's something right now our engineering team's working on. Also, just simplifying things and making things like more manual deployment is something that sometimes our customers will want. So it's kind of an exciting business because things change so quickly, especially within battery technology. And energy is just a fascinating field for me. And to work with folks who know how things work and can make things work, that's a cool thing for me because I'm just a guy who like tries to fix his dishwasher and it takes him like 2 months to finally get it fixed. But we use thin film solar on these guys. That they take the bumps of the road, traveling all across the country. They do a really good job at that. We use LFP batteries generally, although we have been testing some supercapacitors for some government customers. And then one of the things that we do, that we're one of the only companies in the world that do this, is we do solid state hydrogen storage systems. And so what that means is that, instead of like a hydrogen fuel cell car, for example, which I think can use up to like 5,000 psi of hydrogen pressure, we use about 250 psi. And so that's less than like an aerosol can. And so what that just means is that it makes hydrogen safe for mobile applications. So instead of it being explosive, it still can be flammable, of course, but you can put it on a plane or a ship or a train, and you don't have to have special permits for it. So, and that's what we think of hydrogen as a backup. So, like in California, we lost out on a big opportunity because when we first started this business, we were mounting gas generators as backup, which some of our customers will still ask for. But when we lost that big, that big grant from California, our response was kind of like F diesel, like we're going to figure out a way to do this with no emissions at all. And so that's when we decided to start thinking about hydrogen as backup power. So we have electrolyzers on board. It's optional. It's great to think about how you can make power when you want to, how you want to. You have to be a little careful with electrolyzers because they take so much energy. So you just have to be really strategic about when you make power. Kind of, it's thinking about like, hey, we have tons of sunshine today. I don't have much load pulling from my battery system, so I don't really have anywhere to put extra power that I'm generating from the sun. So that's kind of like the perfect time to make some hydrogen and store it away for maybe later when the weather's not going to be so good, or there's wildfire smoke or something in the air. And so this is our self-generating loop of clean mobile power. So showing our main form of power there, which is solar. If you're in a windy area, like I was in Palm Springs a couple weeks ago, and there's just like almost a constant wind that blows there. So in a place like that, you could add a wind turbine that would give you an extra kilowatt or two of energy. And then, we store all of our power in your lithium LFP batteries, and then you can run solutions with them, all kinds of solutions. You can run a perimeter security hub. You can run a medical clinic. You can run an emergency operations center. You can run legacy equipment, like an old EOC that you might have, or a satellite communication system, or whatever it might be. And so you run that stuff, and then you're able to also generate that hydrogen that I mentioned, and you can keep running your loop. If we try our very best to design our systems around a specific use case, so we get as much information as we can from our customers around their expected loads that they're going to be running, and then we design the appropriate solar array, the appropriate battery storage system, the appropriate backup system that's right for them, to make sure that things can run for days or weeks or indefinitely potentially. And these are the different form factors. We have 11 patents. A lot of those are around the solid state storage. We have a few patents around our solar array systems. We have a few pending as well about new systems that we've designed. And so we have this either construction type trailer or your Connex containers. And, we'll do sliding systems in order to maximize solar arrays on smaller trailers. We'll sometimes do lots of windows for if we want to be able to have people communicating a lot, with the public. We also will do no windows whatsoever if there are security concerns. This was one of our customers, Comcast. After big storms, they go to like Home Depots or Lowe's or big box stores, or maybe into one of their parking lots outside of one of their headquarters or something. They designed a 60-foot trailer. It's got toilets, showers, and laundry, and so they run that with our nanogrid. And they invite people to come out and use their Wi-Fi and internet. They'll sell some phone plans and these kinds of things. Then they'll usually bring their Wi-Fi vans and they'll plug those into our nanogrid as well. And this is thinking about base camps. So, for first responders or defense or border control or search parties and these kinds of things. So this was outside the nation's capital. And it took, I think, 4 hours or so to set up those pallet shelters. There were 9 of them. And then we just rolled out a big, long cord and, powered the lights and fans overnight. And this is, like I said, kind of one of the lower power solutions that we do. But it seems to be a great solution for that use case. And this here is thinking about community education. So Ann Arbor, for example, is one of our first cities who's jumped on our community education nanogrid. So they're really thinking about like, how do we get out to events, to concerts, to street fairs, talking to the public about the future goals of Ann Arbor and the progress that they've made, talking about things like where taxes are going, and educating kids. Maybe this nanogrid might be parked out a voter tabulation site to back up power if that ever happens. And I think that that's a big future use case for that, for other communities all around the country. And this is EV charging, thinking about EV charging. So we have level 2 charger that we can put on our nanogrids. I don't let myself often get into a condition where I'm like out of juice in my, I don't own an EV. I really want to, but I got to talk my wife into it. But for work, I do get to drive this Rivian, which is awesome. I love it. And it pulls a 10,000-pound trailer really well. And sometimes I forget that there's even a trailer behind me. But, if I ever found myself in a situation where I was like out of juice, I would be okay because I could plug into my nanogrid behind me. And so, if a city has like a fleet of EVs, it could be a secondary point. It's not a fast charger, but if they couldn't make it to a fast charger, they could pop by here and get some more miles. Or if an employee was working out of the nanogrid for the day, they could charge their EV while they're working. And communications are really something that like every client of ours uses our nanogrids for. So this was at a conference outside of Las Vegas Convention Center, and the folks that were next to us, it was Verizon Frontline. Frontline's like a dedicated network for first responders. It kind of throttles the normal folks, in emergencies, and gives the fastest signal to first responders. And so, they had a backpack shelter, so they blew it up with our 110 outlet, and then their communication solution they plugged into our 220, and then we were trickle charging our Rivian at the same time. So it's there's all kinds of uses that you run into that you're like, oh, I didn't foresee using this for this, but I'm sure glad it's here. And then, the clean water is something we've been thinking about a lot. I might be joining potentially a group that's working towards some clean water solutions. We want to design a nanogrid that's really meant really just to combat these issues with clean water. So being able to pump and filter water, atmospheric water generation, rainwater basin filtration. Uh, that's a big focus that we try to make sure that we have in as many of our nanogrids as possible. And this is also thinking about cooling. So maybe you have a team of folks who are working on a road in the summer and it's 120 degrees. So they could work for an hour and then cycle in and cool off for 15 minutes. Or maybe if the power is out at a old folks home or something, they could cycle through and cool off. There are different reasons for that. But as heat gets worse and worse, it's great to think of solutions that can at least take the load off a little bit of people. And this is I think one of the more exciting projects that we've been working on. So this is using the principles of passive house technology. So this is an autonomous perimeter security solution. It's at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. And so this one was running until recently. It was just moved over to Fort Bliss, right next door. But White Sands Missile Range is the largest military installation in the country. And so they have some wildlife biologists that keep an eye on the wildlife just to make sure that they're healthy with military activity that's going on around there. So this has, it has cameras, sensors, it has some AI software saying, is that an animal? Is that a person? Trying to work on that. Is that a dangerous person? These kinds of initiatives. And then it also powers a weather station. And so this one's kind of amazing, I think, because if you think about, if you had a gas generator running for over a year, like what would that be in costs of of fuel, in man hours of refueling and maintenance. So this is able to keep machines comfortable, and people in like really austere conditions, and it's able to do that with. I think we went in there once to clean off the solar panels and change the electrolyte on in the electrolyzers, and then also there was a huge storm with like 90 mile per hour winds or something like that. And so folks had to come put the solar array down during that, but essentially no downtime outside of those couple of occasions for more than a year. So I think that's a pretty incredible new nanogrid that we have there. And this is with the Marine Corps. So with soldiers, this is designed for 8 soldiers to be working at a time. It's workspace, edge computing, satellite communications, atmospheric water generation, security equipment. So this is in the Indo-Pacific, and we have a number of these nanogrids with the Marine Corps, and they're used to receiving these. They're used to receiving containers at the port, and when they get it, it's like an oven inside, and they basically get baked when they open it and look inside. But they were super pleasantly surprised when they opened ours up, and it was like in the 80s, I think, on a 100-degree day. And then once they turned the systems on, it was like the coolest place in the island. And this is also a brand new partnership that we have. So Heaven Aerotech, it's the leading hydrogen drone maker. And so their drones are able to stay up for about 10 hours, as opposed to battery powered drones that, they can stay up maybe between 30 minutes and 2 hours, perhaps, depending on what kind of solutions they are. So we're developing with them right now. It's going to be in a demonstration next month at a military installation, but a refueling nanogrid for their drones. And so basically we'll be able to produce hydrogen, store it, and then boost it to the pressures that they need to have it at for their drones, and then keep a drone in flight at all times, 24/7 for potentially weeks at a time. With all of the drone proliferation all over the world, I think that this is going to be a really important initiative that we're part of. And so this is also, with Lauren's software background, and we were also in a Google Climate Startup accelerator a couple of years back. And so we got some funds to host our app. And so we're launching this app right now with the Army Corps of Engineers. Basically, it's really important for people to justify their purchases. So this is how our customers can keep an eye on their nanogrid's performance. They can say, like how much power am I producing? How much am I using? How many gallons of gas have I saved? How much money have I saved because of that? It'll let folks know if there's any issues going on with the system, so they can troubleshoot them. They can use it for bidirectional charging. So this is going to be a great addition to our business. This is just kind of talking about competitive advantage. There are still some states and lots of institutions are still looking to, they still have carbon goals. They're still trying to get to net zero. Like Ann Arbor is a great example of that. I think that they've already reduced their city operations emissions by 40% or something like that. So there's still a lot of places out there that are still moving towards that, which is one thing to cling on to hope with. And I think that we're the kind of company they might be looking for to help them with that. And this is, I mentioned medical nanogrids earlier. So this was after Hurricane Maria. It's in Dominica. They have their island was just totally wiped out by that hurricane. And they have 2 of our nanogrids. They're parked outside of medical clinics. And so this one, it's not a great photo, but there's an examination room there. So visiting nurses and doctors, they can do exams in there, do some triaging. The power goes out quite a bit there, so this can back up the power at this little medical clinic. It's not much of a medical clinic. I mean, it's a tiny little building, with some beds, and some equipment in it. But and then they had to do a lot of boiling of water in order to make sure their water was safe. So we also were able to have set up a rainwater basin and filter some water through it for them. So that's pretty much it. We're designed to be a simple product that anybody can operate. It's all clean energy, tested by Army Corps of Engineers. Use it for lots of different stuff and get it around how you want to. So this is my information. If any of you want to reach out, please do. I'm working on connecting with people, like making phone calls, because sometimes I forget that phone calls are a thing, and I want to be one of those people that actually talks to people on the phone. So feel free to give me a ring, send me a note. I'd love to chat with you all. I appreciate that everyone on this call is, if not actively, making energy changes in their world, or at least encouraging other folks to, and thinking about doing it for yourselves. So like, I appreciate being part of this group here. It's uplifting to me. So I thank you for having me here. So be glad to have a chat with y'all, and I'll stop sharing here.
Hey, thanks, Tim. I'll take the first question, but as I think everybody who participates knows, you can raise a virtual hand, or if you've got your camera on, you can raise a real hand. But Tim, I'm kind of curious if you think in terms of the various equipment components, the panels, the batteries, the electrolyzer, what's the life of the equipment? Or how do you think in terms of, I assume that you haven't actually had to replace equipment yet.
That's right. And that is a very common question that I get from folks, and it's a very valid one. So yeah, the different components, they're rated for different amounts of time. The solar is rated for 20 years. The inverters are rated for around 10 years, I believe. The batteries are rated for about 7 years, but they're really based on cycles. So there's it's not like one size fits all answer. We designed them so things can be swapped out fairly easily when they need to be. We guarantee a nanogrid, like the whole thing, for like 1 year. There's like a 1 year warranty, and then we sell maintenance plans, or we'll train maintenance teams how to take care of them. So yeah, unfortunately, we can't say like this whole nanogrid is going to be good for 20 years. But with battery systems, for example, with like supercapacitors, which are a very new technology, and they can cost sometimes 3 times as much money as like LFP batteries. But from what I've heard, and not, like, I'm not an engineer, but the chemical makeup of that system, it's not degraded over years. So instead of being rated on cycles like a battery system is, it's rated on years, and it's many times will be like 20 years. But that's a really kind of a brand new technology that we've just started to test. And so, we always try to be very forward thinking, and actively testing new technologies, but we don't want to like base our whole business on a brand new technology.
Okay, go ahead, Jay.
Hi, Tim. Jay Nugent here. I worked with Red Cross for a number of years. I managed their communications center here in Washtenaw County for about 10 years. I've also been a presenter at the DHS FEMA Michigan State Police Interoperability Conference in Traverse City. My last presentation there was When All Else Fails Amateur Radio, or Until Your Battery Dies, where what I was doing was teaching the first responders that you're only as good as your battery or your power source, and that generators and fuel and so forth become a rare commodity and will often break at the worst possible time. Damn that Irishman that does that Murphy guy. But I've worked alongside AT&T FirstNet. Are you familiar with FirstNet?
Yes, I know that FirstNet was developed in conjunction with the government.
Yeah, it was government grant to AT&T, as well as other cellular providers. But for the audience here, FirstNet, when a cellular system goes down, like after a wildfire in northern Michigan or a flood or an earthquake or whatever, FirstNet will roll in um, cellular on wheels, cows. They will set up microwave links, satellite links, and whatnot. And their first objective, of course, is to bring up communications for the first responders and the medical teams. And then as traffic capacity becomes available, they open that up for the general public. But FirstNet typically hits the ground and has been deployed within 4 hours of any event. I was wondering as well, what sort of deployment time do you have, and is it just here in Michigan, or are you nationwide, or can you deploy anywhere, and how quickly?
That's a great question. Yeah, we're agnostic as far as our customers go. So FirstNet, Verizon Frontline is basically Verizon's answer to AT&T FirstNet. But so our customers are the ones who deploy our nanogrids. So at some point in our business, we would like to be, power as a service, services as a service, but um, changing that would be a kind of a massive change to our business. So we would have to manufacture a whole bunch of units and have them ready at the call for folks when they need us to roll out. Or when they want to rent our services. And so that's probably, a large capital raise, maybe a couple of years down the line or something. It is something that we want to do. But deploying the nanogrids is something that our customers are doing and not us.
Yeah, maybe partnering with FirstNet as their power source might be your foot in the door. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jay.
Go ahead, Lee. Lee,
You're
go
on
ahead.
mute. You're on mute, Lee.
Yeah, you're on mute.
I know you said this several times during your presentation, uh, kilowatt hours, but give us a little idea of what the range is. If you come walk back to the office and say, I just sold a small one, and the next day you say, I sold a big one, how many
Yeah,
kilowatt hours is that range?
sure. Yeah, for the battery storage, anywhere between 30 kilowatt hours and like 150 or so. That's generally where we're at. We get limited by weight. You know, the trailers that we build in are rated for a certain amount of poundage. So that's kind of like where we top out at the moment. But with the way things are changing so rapidly with battery technology, I think that's gonna, it's gonna go up pretty quickly. But for now, I think we usually go anywhere between 30 and 150 or so.
Yeah, and so that's not too much different than a Ford Lightning, which has been discontinued.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man, the car business is in turmoil right now. I feel really awful about it. I live in Windsor, right across from Detroit, and the factories here, they'll go from one shift one month to no shifts the next month to two shifts. It's like all over the place. Then they'll shut a factory down, a few hundred miles away, and then workers will move over here. It's just such a tough time. I saw that they had their first loss in 70 years today. I saw that. So yeah, tough times for that. But yeah, Ford Lightning's awesome. I That's such a powerful thing to be able to have something on wheels that you can power so many things with. They're one of the only companies that have a really large power capacity.
And
Like I
they have
love,
the ability to charge and discharge,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
to a load. Yeah.
But maybe they're going to keep doing that. I haven't looked too much into the specs of their solution with the generator uh, built into the truck as well. Maybe it's similar specs, and you'll still be able to do the same kind of stuff. That's what I hope.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Tim, I assume that
Well,
you have competitors in the business who have used solar as kind of emergency power source, but it sounds like hydrogen might be a unique aspect of what you're doing, and And also, it sounds like maybe, boy, you have just so many different types of applications, and maybe some of your competitors are more focused on one application or another, like hurricane disasters and kind of getting there quickly. But I assume you do have some competitors in the business.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen a competitor that's like really doing kind of exactly what we're doing. There are a lot of folks who are building solar and battery storage into containers. But most of those companies, you have to bring that container to its final location and then maybe have like a foundation set up for it and then potentially build a portion. So it's not really about like rapidly deployable solution. It might be like somewhat quick, like a couple days or something. And I don't know like what, if permitting has to happen or anything like that. But we haven't really run into many folks who are all about like that extremely quick deployment of mobile power. And so I think that that's something that we have an edge on. And I'm sure there's folks out there that are trying to work on the same kind of stuff. But um, yeah, we're doing okay so far. I mean, there's always somebody on your heels, no matter what business you're in. So you just have to try to stay as competitive as you can.
I think you're being real smart with kind of diversifying with different types of applications too. Go ahead, Dave.
Sure. Thank you, Tim. It's very interesting. The
My
first
pleasure.
thing, the first thing that I thought of was if you have a trailer that size, it would be very easy to downsize. Let's say between 5 and 10 kilowatts or kilowatt hours, and more of a skeletal, so you don't need a actual trailer as such, but more of a skeleton type that could be permanent for households. And that kind of goes along with the idea of plug-in solar, where that could plug into your house. I know the values aren't kosher with that yet, but I think they'll get there.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about plug-in solar. I think that'll fill a big gap, and it's going to help people with all of these rising energy costs that we're all going through right now. Um, you know, with what you're talking about with home solutions, it would be such a big pivot for our business. It's just so different than what we're doing. When it comes down to what we're doing, the rapidly deployable mobile sometimes equals a higher priced product. And so in sometimes when we try to get into bidding against like, we bid on a big government project recently. Um, and they were really pushing for the lowest bidder. That's what they wanted. And so, we lost out because of that, because I think our cost was significantly higher, like 20% higher or something like that than what our competitor was at. Um, and when you start thinking about lower priced, not to say that we would ever never get into it, home based systems, then you're starting to talk about like more automated manufacturing processes, and building a larger factory with robotics and just probably a big capital raise, even though you're building less expensive systems. Um, but I want as many people as possible to work on these kinds of things. But we're just kind of trying to focus on a niche of the market, however you say that. And I think that's how businesses can often be successful, is just kind of really focusing on a corner. And so that's what we're up to.
Yeah, go ahead, Jens.
I was curious a little bit more on the hydrogen production, both sides of it. Are those like residential? I mean, are they like off the shelf? You can just buy them from Bosch or
So
somebody, or you have to make them
yeah,
yourselves?
well, we
Uh,
don't make the electrolyzers. As of now, they're made in Germany. We're running some tests with an American electrolyzer company, but but the storage piece is ours. That's our technology. But really, what we do really well is we're an integrator of technologies. So we take lots of different equipments and softwares and make them all work really well together and try to address the needs of our customers that way. So yeah, I'm always looking for new technological advances. There are ways that folks are working on of making hydrogen right now and have been working on for many years. If we can get a hold of a technology that can make hydrogen with 1/10 of the energy that we're currently using, like that's what we want to do. And we're in talks with some companies that haven't quite commercialized, but they have prototypes. And so that's something that we really are incredibly interested in with the hydrogen field. And, there's some, like University of Michigan right now has a hydrogen center, and they're working on these kinds of things. So we hope to develop partnerships with these brilliant scientists. I mean, the scientists that developed our solution, they worked on it for 25 years for hydrogen storage. So it can be a very long haul to get these things commercialized, but we're very hopeful that in the near future, we'll be able to employ some tech that can make hydrogen with much less power than what we currently need. Because that's one of the limitations, or you just have to be careful about when you make it, that you're not going to end up with a battery, with a dead battery, because of it.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks. Yeah, my company Dana, we make bipolar plates in Germany, quite for several customers, Bosch and others. So maybe you use our plates. I don't know, but we don't make the whole stack. We just sell individual plates to places. So that's
yeah, I would not be surprised.
A lot of research going on.
Yeah, there sure
cool
is. I hope there's some big breakthroughs because we want to use it.
Other folks who have comments or questions? Go ahead, Clyde. You're muted.
You're on mute.
You're still muted, Clyde.
It's the red mic button.
There we
there
go.
Oh, there you are. You're okay.
Hey, Clyde.
Have you considered storing your hydrogen as ammonia?
We haven't. I mean, I have a friend who really wants to work with us on converting gases into hydrogen. I think that it's like with all this tech, you can get really deep into it and have a hard time finding your way out, I think sometimes. And so that's, I think, a bit of a concern with us. I think for now, we're trying to stick with what we're doing well. So while I'm like super fascinated with all these energy solutions, I think it can be dangerous to try to get too much into too many of them.
Yeah, and you mentioned this, Tim. Really, one of your challenges, right, is to be able to figure out how you can manufacture at a greater volume, right? I mean, that seems like
Yes.
I kind of gathered from the way you talked that was a priority, so that
yeah, it very much is.
Yeah,
because
you could
like
produce
right now,
more of what you already do. Yeah.
Yeah, right now we'll get an order, between 1 and 6 generally. Those are like our order sizes usually.
Yeah.
And it takes, usually a couple months to build one. And, we get faster. Like, for example, we one time got an order for about 30 16-foot, pretty basic trailers. Low power, smaller solar array. But that was when we were a pretty new company. And the first one took us like maybe 3 months to build. And then by the end of it, we were building like one a week or something like that. So it's really about getting your systems down, and then, making things as simple as possible, as repeatable as possible, so that if we need to at some point, we can call on partners to manufacture pieces of our nanogrids, and we can assemble them all on site at our factory. So that's if we get an order for 50 or 100 or 500, or because when that's the dream, but we want to be able to follow through if we get a big order like that.
Jay, go ahead.
Well, I'm rather interested mostly in disaster relief, rolling something. My mind always sees this as happening in disaster relief, like in Western North Carolina and so forth. And in those sort of situations, dovetailing something that makes energy to making some other things that the general public needs at that same time, namely hot water, showers, etc. And I'm thinking, well, underneath the solar panels, if you run copper piping or PEX tubing back and forth under the panels, they get warm in the sun. They heat up the water in the tubes. You now have hot water. Bonus, not only alongside your nanogrid trailer, but you have a shower trailer that has its own water supply and is now heated by the heat that was produced underneath those PV panels, as well as I notice in your photographs, many of your trailers have mini split air conditioning. Well, if you're going to pull heat out of something, don't blow the heat out into the air when we can use that heat, again, to heat water, to run those showers. Because the people that are doing disaster relief, the public that you're helping, they need that sort of thing. And hot water is a very welcome item in a disaster scene. Just thinking outside the box here.
Yeah, absolutely. Heat's expensive, right? And heat takes a lot of energy to make. So if there's a way to reuse heat that you're generating, that's amazing. And I don't believe that we've found a way to do it yet, but that's great thinking. And I hope that we start being able to do that as well. Yeah, a lot of times we'll run an exterior solution using the battery storage and the generation that happens on board. But as far as recapturing heat, that we still have some work to do on that one.
Other folks with questions or comments? We got about 8 minutes left. This has been very interesting. Yeah, certainly different sorts of uses of solar power than we're used to talking about.
I can toss out an offer. If you want some guinea pigs to test out your one of your designs or systems on, in the last weekend of June, the amateur radio operators all across the country do an event that runs for 24 straight hours, where we operate our radios, make contacts with one another, and we do it totally off grid. Most of these sites run generators. Our site here in Ann Arbor, which we'd go to the Ann Arbor airport and use the soccer fields there, we have been doing it mostly with solar, mostly because I've been bending a lot of arms to make that happen. It would be cool to go and have someone like your company come out and, as a trial of some new product or something you want to test, or part of training your own people, bring one out, power our operation for 24 hours. And of course, we get a lot of widespread press about this, as would you.
Yeah, I'm interested. I met someone from the Washtenaw 2030 district,
Yes.
and she invited me to one of your events, I believe, which
That would
I
be
wasn't.
Karen Thurman. Yep.
Yes, yes. I wasn't able to make it to it, but I was very interested. I don't know much at all about radio systems, but I want to learn more. And it would be fun for me to be a part of that.
I've
It
got
would,
your contact
yeah,
information. I'll
reach out
email
to me.
you and we can talk further. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.
Hey, Jens, go ahead. You're muted.
It came to me, you call it like a mobile microgrid, but it's not generating power in transit. You move it, you set up, and then it's going live. You're
Yep.
not
Yep,
like
that's right.
actively like running the fuel cells while
That's
it's on the
right.
road, because I think that's a whole other
Just
level of complexity.
Yeah, it can be a safety risk. So we try to make sure that battery systems are powered down. Um, for emergency management folks and military folks, they'll keep the batteries, full. But we recommend transporting it with lower power on the battery system, making sure the battery system's off. Um, you, uh, the hydrogen storage is low, so we try to minimize risks during transport, and so that's what our thinking with that. But I do often think when I'm transporting this, oh man, I wish it was generating power right now. But that's just it's kind of just like balancing risk and making sure that we're being as safe as we can be.
And do you have any units overseas?
Yeah, so we're in the Indo-Pacific with the Marines. Um, Dominica, like that's a Caribbean. We do have a partner that's starting to look at the European market for us. He's based in England. He's a former partner of Lauren Flanagan's in the internet world, and so he's starting to test the waters over in Europe. And so I do think that we're going to have some interest, especially with our drone refueling nanogrid.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I could see how that could become a
Working
growth
with
growth
American
aspect to the
companies,
business.
and yeah, so I do think that it's gonna happen for us. We'll see how fast it happens. I'd love to see them in Ukraine as well. And I know that we were part um, of a meeting in Washington D.C. Um, with Hillary Clinton, I believe, and a Ukrainian delegation. But we don't have any yet in Ukraine. But I would sure love to if we could help in some way there.
Yeah, super. Well, we're almost at 8 o'clock. So, did anybody have a last question or comment, or we could adjourn for the night? Hey, Tim, thank you very much for the presentation. This has been
Oh, my
really helpful
pleasure.
to and of great interest too. I think you've kind of introduced us to some new applications, and it's great to think that this is a Michigan company. That
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
doing work that's having a global impact. So, hey,
Pure
go ahead,
Michigan.
John.
Just a quick question. Tim, don't you have one of these on display at the Ann Arbor Green Fair on Main Street?
Yeah, we sure did. That was their first event that they did. So it's the Ann Arbor Sustainability Department, their community engagement team. That's who works with it mostly.
Do you
Um,
think you think it will be there this coming fall?
I think it will be. The next event that I know of, I believe it's going to be on April 25th. I'm not sure where exactly, but you could keep an eye out for it. It's at a tree giveaway and teach-in. And there's also the potential of it being at another event as well, but I don't have permission from the sustainability team to announce that or anything.
Well, if you find out, if you could find out and get permission, let us know because I'm sure some
Okay.
of our members would love to see one in person.
Yeah, yeah. Next time I know about an Ann Arbor event, I'll let you know for sure.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all. It was really wonderful spending a little bit of time with you. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks again, Tim, for an interesting and informative presentation, and thanks to everybody for coming. Hope to see you next Thursday. Take care, everybody.
Take care.